go wide. Latiboudin making the run. Bailey delivers the ball. The header down into the back of the net.
We complained, we got upset, and we made demands. But finally, Jamaica gave us a great performance at the National Stadium. This is Jamaica versus Guatemala review show. Yeah, people, welcome back to Jamaican Fan, and this is the day after of the great 3-0 performance of the Reggae Boyz at home to Guatemala. Here are my 3 key takeaways from that match last night. Starting with the first point, great switch. Alright, as usual, we're going to start with the starting lineup, and honestly, it's one that I predicted. Hayden got over his illness to come in at the number 6 position. Keane was rested, which I thought was the right call. So Olgate and Lowe will play the centre back pairing. And with the threat that is normally given by the Guatemalans on the wing, Latiboudin comes in at right back to help shore up the defence. But I want you to pay extra attention to the front three and where exactly their position. Interesting enough, Steve McLaren decided to have an experiment and have Bailey come down on his left hand side and have Cephas coming down the right. When I first saw it, I thought it was a bit peculiar, but maybe he saw something in the Guatemalan tapes that could be exploited with non-inverted wingers. But when the game started, my biggest gripe with the Reggae Boyz is that they were far too timid right out of the blocks. Apart from Warner Brown doing a tireless job up front, the first 10 minutes saw the Guatemalans having such ease on the ball and all the possession time in the world, regardless of whichever zonal third they were in. It just seemed that the Jamaican boys were a bit nervous and was too preoccupied with keeping their shape, rather than going at any player in white with any sort of aggression. And the Guatemalans almost took keen advantage of this with this effort right here that had to bring Blake into an early save that also got the crowd a bit woken up right after that. But we also looked timid going forward as well, and we're trying to get both Bailey and Cephas more into the game and try to attack down the wings, but both players were struggling heavy. It is clear that the Guatemalans know about Cephas by now every time he touched the 2 white shirts near him, while Bailey would have slowed the game down a bit too long, and by then the rest defense of the Guatemalans would be in place by the time he tried to approach the box. Cephas still have raw speed, of course, and he was helping him try to get something going down on the right hand side, but it was clear having these guys play on their preferred foot was simply not working. Luckily for us though, by the 16th minute, coach Steve McLaren realized enough was enough and decided to have the switch done and have both Bailey and Cephas switch wings to come more in their more natural position of playing inverted. And with Bailey especially, it seemed it brought new life to his game, and immediately he went on the attack and looked almost like a different player. He would chop back on that left foot 1 and 2 times, bringing the 1 and 2 saves out of Hagen in goal. He simply feels more relaxed and natural coming in from the right hand side. Cephas was not going to be outdone either. He will do well to come down here on the left hand side and almost got Warner Brown on the end of a decent square, and this burst of energy by both players really rallied the Jamaican fans as well as their fellow teammates, because from there, Jamaica started to grow more and more into the game, started to dominate the ball more and more, and saw the likes of Gray and especially Jonathan Russell having more and more influence in the match. But the early proceedings was still all Bailey. He was still doing all the grunt work, so it was no surprise that would lead to the game's early goal. Once again, he comes down on his left right here before putting a good ball into the box, and Russell, which he has done ever since he's been in this team, popping up at the right place and right time in the box to nod home towards the target and into the back of the net. 1-0 to the Jamaicans, and at this point in the game, I thought it was fully deserved. And after that goal, you could feel that the pressure lifted from the team. They started to be more composed on the ball, and more importantly, they pushed the Guatemalans back all the way to the top of their own 18-yard box, and they were caged in by the men in yellow. This level of control and domination has been sorely missing from the Jamaican team in some time. I was a joy to see they have it on full display here at home at the National Stadium. And even when the second half came and Guatemala's up the ante, I was very pleased to see the Jamaicans up their intensity as well, got the tackles flying in, and backed up Warner Brown with the entire squad doing some good zonal pressing. It all eventually led to an easy 3-0 victory for the Jamaicans at the end, and it makes you wonder if the coach did not make that switch of his wingers early on in the game, who knows where the result would have ended up. Alright, point number 2, lethal weapons. As great as the gameplay by the entire team, this is football of course, and you don't win matches without goals. I made a note when referring to the BVI game that Jamaica has been struggling for some time to break down a team that's in a low block. And while I believe collectively as a team they can do better right there, I also should have highlighted we were also missing some key weapons in the squad to overcome such challenges. When the 18-yard box is so compact with defenders, you will need a killer poacher to really be at the end of anything loose in the box to get your team's rare chances into the back of the net. And that exactly is who Warner Brown is. He had over 20 goals in the JPL this past season, and I can guarantee you, if you look at the stats, 90% of his goals were in around the 6-yard box. His non-stop determination to get at the end of anything in the danger zone has been a breath of fresh air for the Reggae Boyz' struggling attack. And while he did miss some other guilt-edged chances in the game, and he definitely needs to work on more on his conversion ratio in front of goal, but you also have to realize his run and tenacity is getting himself into these positions. And all of this without even mentioning what he brings to the team with his constant running into the channels and sheer pressing of the back line. We really seem to have discovered a lethal weapon just in time for the World Cup qualifiers. But I also have to give special praise to Jonathan Russell as well, including all my fellow colleagues and YouTubers, like the Crankies, the Gunners, and the 433 Pressers of this world, who has been begging and honing the coach to have Jonathan Russell call up to the squad, because currently what he provides is also what's been sorely missing from the national team for many years now, and that's a pure number 8 that will get himself into the box and score some goals. We finally have a threat from midfield. It's all thanks to the continued form of Jonathan Russell, who was absolutely superb once again last night. Alright, moving on to point number 3, too much respect. Alright, I did mention that the first 10 to 12 minutes of the game, it felt like Guatemala were here to take control, as we basically allowed them to have all the time in the world to come at us at our home patch. But I also thought it was a big missed opportunity by the Guatemalans. As the first half went along, they were dropping deeper and deeper into our defensive shell and did not look even a slight bit interested into going forward until way into the second half. You could say it's a bit disappointing. They entered this match as the group leaders, coming off a good 4-2 victory just a couple days ago, but yet they were fearful of the Jamaicans and allowed us to bring the game to them and ultimately pay the price, which I thought was a mistake, with the Jamaicans only getting past BVI with a 1-0 victory, probably not looking their smoothest as they ever has been. I thought this was a prime chance for them to take the fight to the Jamaicans and get the home crowd to turn on his home team, especially since they will face Jamaica again in the first stage of the Gold Cup only 6 years from now. I should also mention that they rested a lot of their key players for this match, so maybe it's all a smoke screen so we get too confident and lower our guard in the opening game of the Gold Cup on Monday. Either way, I agree with Steve McLaren. It's very unlikely the Guatemalans will play like this again in 6 days' time. Alright, before I wrap up out of here, I just want to take notes on 3 more players and their impact on the match. Starting with Isaac Hayden. I thought he was an unsung hero in this game, and he showed us just how much he was missed in the game against BVI. The work he does to facilitate the ball moving from the center box up to the final third is crucial to all Jamaican progress going forward. The other player I want to highlight as well is Joel Latabodere. He wasn't tested as much as I thought he would in this game, and he did a nice job when he inverts into the midfield and provided an extra sense of security for the rest defense. He did not offer the greatest help going forward, but his presence coming from that right side into midfield allowed Jonathan Russell the license to go forward and have an impact in the final third. So a pretty decent run out by Latabodere. The last player I want to talk about now is Demarai Gray. He was the man of the match last time against BVI in the number 10 role, and while he did not exactly match up to that creative spark in this game, but he was still influential, especially on the set piece deliveries, to help us get all 3 points. But he showed at times in this match that he needs to be a bit more decisive on what he needs to do before he receives the ball and with his teammates around him. A lot of times he was not quick enough with his choices and will find himself have to be spinning out of trouble, and hopefully with more time playing in that position, he will grow to have the understanding of his teammates going forward. But anyway, guys, once again, the Jamaicans got a big 3-0 victory here. Something for the fans to finally feel good about, and they have taken a psychological lead heading into their first game of the Gold Cup. But that's the review show. Thank you all for watching, and please like, subscribe, and share as we look to keep you all up to date on the Jamaican exploit in the Gold Cup in the coming weeks. Otherwise, for great Reggae Boyz content, you're already at the right place, Champion Fan. You too, big up yourself.